Hello and welcome to my presentation on the adaptations of the body systems to training. Different activities will have different demands to them. For example, if they're anaerobic or aerobic. Shorter events such as a 100-meter sprint or a power lift will mainly be anaerobic. They also contain a short duration of time but have a very high and explosive intensity. This would be different to events such as a marathon or a triathlon, as they're mainly aerobic and have a much lower intensity but a much longer duration. This means that they will require different components of fitness. For example, events such as a marathon will need much better cardiovascular endurance and much better muscular endurance compared to events such as 100 meters or powerlift, which will require better muscular strength. However, you can also have games, such as a game of football or basketball. This is different as they both have aerobic and anaerobic phases, and they are a mixed intensity. However, they still contain a longer duration. They will require more components of fitness, such as cardiovascular endurance, muscular strength, and muscular endurance. Anaerobic training is used for events that don't require oxygen. This could be such as a 100-meter sprint or powerlifting. They typically don't require oxygen as they use the ATP-PC energy systems to create the muscular contractions. These events have a very short duration and a very high intensity. For training in the anaerobic threshold, it has to be between 80 to 90% of your maximum heart rate. For example, for a 20-year-old athlete, you can work it out by doing 220, which is your maximum heart rate, minus your age. So for a 20-year-old, it would be 200. Then you can find 80% of that, which is 160 beats per minute or over. There are two ways that I'll talk about to train anaerobically. One way would be through weight or resistance training. This is when weights are used for certain amount of reps to help build muscle. To work anaerobically, the athlete will use very high weights. This is so they can perform the activities for a higher intensity but a short duration. This will increase the muscular strength or muscular power. They can do this by training with their one rep max. This is where you train with the highest weight you can do for 1 or 2 short reps. Another type of training would be plyometric training. This is often very short and explosive exercise that are maximal contractions. This means that it will improve the power and muscular strength in the athlete. To start to see improvements, they'll have to train between 2 to 5 times a week for at least 12 weeks. There will be many adaptations such as increased maximal power, faster speed if they're training their lower body. To see progress in anaerobic training, it has to be specific to their event. For example, a sprinter wouldn't use a fartlek training. This is because they don't need to work on their aerobic systems, as this wouldn't help them improve their event. Also, if they want to see improvement and adaptation in their sport, they should also perform progressive overload. This is where they'll either increase the time that they're training, the amount of sets they do, the reps, or the intensity of the activity. For example, a weightlifter could increase the weight by 2 kilograms per session, so they'll make it progressively harder. However, they shouldn't overtrain, as this will cause reversibility. This is when your performance gets worse for many reasons. This could be due to injury. However, when training aerobically is different. This is because it requires oxygen. This would be for events such as a marathon or a triathlon, as they would fall into this category. They would typically train at a much lower intensity, for example 60 to 80% of your maximum heart rate. They require oxygen as their main source of energy by using the aerobic system. One training method for a marathon runner would be either continuous or fartlek training. Continuous training is at least 20 minutes or more of non-stop, steady pace, submaximal exercise. The other method, fartlek, is continuous training. However, there is different intensities. This can vary from a walk phase to a medium intensity such as a jog, and then finally a higher intensity which could be a sprint. To start to see improvements in the aerobic system, you'd have to train at least 3 to 5 times a week for at least 20 minutes each session, and this could be for at least 6 weeks. By training aerobically, many body systems will improve. These include the cardiovascular system and the muscular endurance system. It can also reduce the chance of coronary heart disease. Similar to anaerobic training, their training needs to be specific to their event. This means that aerobic events, such as marathons, they wouldn't train by using heavy weights or 1 rep max. This is because they would build a different type of muscle fibers that they don't need. They should also increase their intensity. They could do this by, in a fartlek training, they could decrease the amount of time they are in the walking phase and increase the either jogging or sprinting part. Again, they should allow time to rest so they wouldn't reduce their progress by becoming injured or over-fatigued. A final way that they could improve is also through weight training. However, this is different. They would only use 80% of their 1 rep max. However, they would do it for a lot more reps, such as 8 to 12. This will help improve their muscular endurance and their muscular strength.